Every stable system quietly makes the future smaller. That sounds impossible. After all, stable systems create opportunity. They reduce risk. They preserve knowledge. They allow people to build lives that would otherwise be impossible. So how could they possibly make the future smaller? Because every time uncertainty disappears, one possible future disappears with it. Stable systems do not survive by creating more possibilities. They survive by making fewer outcomes unpredictable. Before we continue, this investigation is part of the Protocol Multiverse. Each channel explores reality from a different perspective. Punchline Protocol asks the question. Dark Side Protocol investigates the system behind it. Debrief Protocol connects everything together. You don't need to watch them in order, but together they reveal a larger picture. Every stable system begins in uncertainty. At first, nothing is known. Every decision is a possibility. Every path is an experiment. Every outcome must be discovered through trial rather than prediction. A new organism explores its environment. A young civilization invents its own methods. A company searches for a business model. A scientist tests competing hypotheses. In the beginning, uncertainty is not a flaw in the system. It is the environment in which the system learns what reality will allow. But uncertainty is also expensive. Every failed experiment consumes time. Every wrong decision wastes energy. Every unexpected outcome creates risk. A system that keeps rediscovering the same answers never becomes truly stable. So the moment something proves reliable, the system changes its behavior. It stops treating that path as an experiment and begins treating it as knowledge. What was once a question becomes a procedure. What was once a possibility becomes an expectation. Every successful discovery is quietly removed from the field of uncertainty and preserved as something that no longer needs to be discovered again. Every stable system is built upon remembered success. It survives not because it continues exploring every possibility, but because it gradually stops spending resources on possibilities it already understands. Stability is not created by increasing the unknown. It is created by preserving successful patterns until uncertainty itself becomes increasingly unnecessary. Every preserved solution changes the system in a subtle but permanent way. At first, it is only one answer among many. But once it has proven itself, it begins replacing the need to ask the same question again. One procedure removes dozens of future decisions. One standard eliminates countless alternative approaches. One successful pattern quietly becomes the default for every similar situation that follows. The system does not become less capable because of this. It becomes more efficient. Decisions that once demanded exploration are now made almost automatically, allowing energy to be redirected toward problems that remain unsolved. Over time, these preserved solutions begin to accumulate. What started as isolated discoveries gradually forms an invisible architecture of expectations. The more knowledge the system stores, the fewer situations require genuine exploration. Possibilities that once competed equally no longer receive the same attention, because one path has already demonstrated that it works. The system is no longer compressing information, it is compressing uncertainty itself. Every successful answer quietly reduces the number of futures that still need to be explored. Knowledge does more than preserve information. It reorganizes the future. Every solution that becomes permanent narrows the range of outcomes the system must still consider. This is why stable systems become increasingly predictable over time. They are not running out of possibilities. They are systematically reducing the number of possibilities that still require discovery. There is an important difference between storing successful solutions and building a world around them. A single answer solves a single problem, but thousands of preserved answers begin shaping the environment itself. Roads appear where people travel most often. Languages stabilize around commonly understood words. Institutions are built upon established procedures. Technologies evolve through standards that allow millions of strangers to cooperate without ever meeting one another. At a certain point, stability is no longer something the system does. It becomes the landscape in which every new decision is made. This changes more than efficiency. It changes expectation. When the environment itself is built upon accumulated certainty, uncertainty gradually becomes the exception rather than the rule. Most interactions no longer begin with exploration because exploration has already been performed by someone else, somewhere else, at some earlier point in time. The individual is no longer discovering every path independently. They are entering a world where countless paths have already been prepared before they ever arrive. The highest achievement of a stable system is not knowledge, it is infrastructure. When successful solutions become part of the environment itself, predictability no longer feels like a choice. It feels like reality. The unknown has not disappeared, but it has been pushed farther away, beyond the boundaries of everyday experience. No individual builds this architecture alone. Every person enters a world that has already solved an unimaginable number of problems before they arrive. Roads have already been planned. Languages have already been agreed upon. Technologies have already been refined. Institutions have already established their procedures. Most of what allows modern life to function does not require us to discover it again. It only requires us to participate. Every generation inherits not only knowledge, but an environment whose greatest purpose is to reduce the need for uncertainty. This inheritance is one of civilization's greatest achievements. It allows billions of people to cooperate, create, and survive on a scale that would otherwise be impossible. But it also changes the relationship between the individual and the unknown. The more the environment anticipates our needs, the fewer moments require genuine exploration. More and more decisions become selections from existing options, rather than journeys into unexplored territory. Without noticing it, we spend less time creating new paths and more time moving through paths that have already been prepared by someone else. Stable systems do not eliminate human freedom. They redefine where freedom is exercised. As the environment absorbs more uncertainty, the individual encounters less of it in everyday life. Exploration does not disappear. It simply moves beyond the edges of the systems we inhabit, leaving ordinary experience increasingly shaped by what has already been understood. Every powerful system is built upon a trade-off. It gives something extraordinary, but it never gives it for free. The same structures that reduce uncertainty also reduce the need to confront it. The same knowledge that protects us from repeating old mistakes also makes fewer moments feel genuinely unexplored. The same infrastructure that allows billions of people to move efficiently through the world quietly removes countless situations that once demanded curiosity, improvisation, or discovery. None of this happens because the system is trying to limit human experience. It happens because eliminating unnecessary uncertainty is precisely what makes the system successful. This is why progress often feels paradoxical. With every generation, life becomes safer, faster, and more predictable. Problems that once required courage become routine. Questions that once demanded exploration are answered before they are even asked. We gain reliability, coordination, and stability on a scale that previous civilizations could hardly imagine. But every answer that becomes permanent also changes the conditions under which future experiences will unfold. The unknown does not disappear. It simply occupies a smaller place within ordinary life than it once did. Every stable system pays for efficiency with uncertainty. Not because uncertainty has no value, but because uncertainty is expensive. The more successful a system becomes, the more it protects itself from unnecessary unpredictability. What is lost is not possibility itself. What becomes rarer is the need to encounter possibility as something genuinely unknown. There is one final illusion hidden inside every stable system. As uncertainty becomes less visible, it becomes easy to believe that it has become less real. But these are not the same thing. A city may function so smoothly that its infrastructure becomes invisible to the people who depend on it every day. In the same way, a stable civilization can become so effective at managing uncertainty that uncertainty itself appears to have vanished. Yet nothing fundamental about reality has changed. The universe remains just as unpredictable. Nature continues to evolve. Technologies reshape entire industries overnight. Economies shift. Societies transform. New discoveries overturn old assumptions. The unknown has never stopped existing. Only our everyday relationship with it has changed. This is the quiet paradox at the center of stability. The more successfully a system protects us from unnecessary uncertainty, the easier it becomes to mistake comfort for completeness. We begin to confuse familiar environments with complete understanding. But every stable system has boundaries. Beyond those boundaries lies everything it has not yet explored, every problem it has not yet solved, every future it cannot yet predict. Stability never eliminates the unknown. It simply creates an island of order surrounded by an ocean that remains as vast as it has always been. The unknown was never removed from reality. It was removed from ordinary experience. Stable systems do not conquer uncertainty. They build protected spaces within it. The more successful those spaces become, the easier it is to forget that they are surrounded by possibilities the system has not encountered yet. Perhaps this is why the future can begin to feel strangely familiar long before it arrives. Not because life has stopped changing, not because possibility has disappeared, and not because the world has somehow become smaller. The systems surrounding us have simply become extraordinarily successful at transforming uncertainty into expectation. They have learned to preserve what works, repeat what succeeds, and protect us from rediscovering the same answers again and again. Every generation inherits a world that is more stable than the one before it, and with that stability comes the quiet feeling that more of tomorrow already resembles yesterday. Yet this is not the end of the story. The unknown still exists wherever no stable system has reached. It exists beyond established knowledge, beyond familiar routines, beyond every boundary where certainty gives way to exploration once again. Stability was never meant to replace the future. It was meant to create a foundation strong enough that humanity could continue moving toward it. The question is no longer whether the unknown still exists. The question is where we choose to look for it once our ordinary lives no longer require us to search for it every day. Stable systems did not make the future disappear. They changed where the future begins. Perhaps that is why the future sometimes feels smaller than it once did. Not because reality has run out of possibilities, but because everyday life now unfolds inside structures designed to make uncertainty increasingly unnecessary. The edge of the unknown is still there. It has simply moved beyond the boundaries of the systems that have already learned how to protect us from it. No single investigation can explain reality completely. Every protocol explores a different layer of the same system. If this investigation changed the way you see the world, continue exploring the Protocol Multiverse. PUNCHLINE Protocol asks the questions. Darkside Protocol investigates the systems behind them. Debrief Protocol connects everything into a larger picture. You'll find all three channels linked below. The unknown never disappeared. It simply stopped living where you stopped looking. The ideas are human. The narration is digital. The interpretation is yours.